Wednesday on the summer finale of Ghost Hunters. In a place of spiritual healing, one team member will get the fright of a lifetime.
What is that?
Oh my God.
In the early aughts, a certain type of program was gaining steam on cable. Paranormal research teams were flooding the airwaves and sniffing out ghosts one night vision case at a time. Whether it was the Roto-Rooters of Ghost Hunters or the Bros of Ghost Adventures, this trend of paranormal series was sweeping people's televisions. In 2008, Halloween Horror Nights created one of their most immersive events to date. Catapulting on the storytelling from 2005, 2008's Reflections of Fear would tell an interlocking story which was anchored by that year's icon, Bloody Mary. Specifically, the houses and scare zones would be directly tied to the backstory of the icon. All of the houses and zones would be interwoven to the character of Dr. Mary Agana. In the build-up to that year's event, fans could follow Dr. Agana as she became particularly interested in studying fear. More specifically, certain types of fears and how they affected her patients, and also how to cure them. These patients would visit her clinic, which she named Living Fearlessly, Specialized Treatments for Fear-Based Ailments.
Bloody Mary.
Enter Boris Shuster, private detective. Shuster is hired by a lady named Diane Bennett. She suspects that her husband Frank is being unfaithful to her. Shuster seeks out freelance photographer Charlie McPherson to help him track and capture evidence of Frank's infidelity. While investigating Frank, Charlie McPherson stumbles upon Dr. Agana's fear clinic. He decides to make his own appointment and try to rid his fears of nyctophobia and claustrophobia. Charlie is never seen again. Unfortunately, Diane's suspicions turn out to be true, and she is presented with photographic evidence of her husband's infidelity. This proof causes Diane to develop a fear of her own. Specifically, the fear of stories that end in happily ever after. Diane seeks out Dr. Agana's clinic for help, and things do not end well for her during her treatment. With the disappearance of his photographer, Boris Shuster launches an investigation into McPherson's disappearance. This leads him to Dr. Agana's fear clinic. Shuster begins to watch the place closely, and he suspects that Mary Agana's clinic is home to something very sinister, as more of her patients have gone missing, including Diane. During this time, Agana becomes suspicious that she is being watched, and her own psyche is being affected. She begins to believe that creatures from a mirror are keeping a close eye on her, and she descends deeper into madness. On August 27, 1958, Boris decides to make an appointment at Mary's fear clinic as a ruse to see what actually is going on. The events that transpired during this visit are murky. However, it led to Mary's disappearance and Boris initially being blamed for her death.
Welcome to the Collective.
The events of August 27, 1958 led Boris to start a new investigative organization called Legendary Truth, the Collective. This institution would focus on cases that were paranormal in nature, and the group is still active today. During Halloween Horror Nights 18 Reflections of Fear, guests would actually visit Mary Agana's clinic in the house Reflections of Fear. While there were no answers as to exactly what happened during Schuster's encounter with Mary, when visitors first entered the house, they were greeted to Mary's ransacked and disheveled office in 2008. Eventually, guests were transported back to the 1950s and watched as Mary conducted her experiments on victims. 2008 was also the first time guests would become recruits in Legendary Truth, the Collective. They were assigned to investigate Mary Agana herself, particularly her mysterious practices and her disappearance. Legendary Truth has a wide and varied lore surrounding it. It is worthy of its own video alone at a later date. When it comes to Boris Shuster himself, he is as mysterious as the cases investigated by Legendary Truth. Boris has a visible office within Universal Studios Florida itself. You can in fact visit his office down Delancey Street in the New York section of the park. He also had a, quote, summer home in the Amity section of Universal Studios Florida before the area was demolished for the boy who lived. It is probably no coincidence that in 2008, Halloween Horror Nights created the interactive Legendary Truth game and the organization itself at a time when TV paranormal investigative groups were becoming popular. The following year, Dave Tango and Steve Gonzalez of TAPS from Sci-Fi's Ghost Hunters started popping up at the event. In 2010, Halloween Horror Nights doubled down on the concept by introducing the Spirit Seekers into the lore. They made their first appearance in the house Legendary Truth, the Wyandotte Estate, and were more modeled after ghost hunting groups like TAPS. In fact, that year, Dave Tango and Steve Gonzalez were filmed going through the Wyandotte Estate. Boris Shuster would become more legendary with the Collective as the years went on. In 2010, Shuster was mysteriously removed from the staff pages of the Legendary Truth organization. It was also revealed he had his own file, which was seen in the Wyandotte Estate. For Halloween Horror Nights 30, guests will be able to experience some of Boris's cases. The house Case Files Unearthed Legendary Truth will follow the young Gumshoe as he investigates the strange and unusual in the infancy of the Legendary Truth organization. Boris Shuster is often overshadowed these days by the bigger name that is Legendary Truth. His name and his founding history of the organization is muddled by the group itself. However, now seems like a good time to do some paranormal investigating with the organization's original founder. I hope you enjoyed this journey into the fog. I'm HHN Legacy, and thanks for watching.